Okay, on the second page, the only difference between number 7 and all of the other ones we've done so far is the fact that the index is 3, not 2. So I'm going to treat it the same way. Step, simplify radicals. Now I do have the steps going along the side just so you can go back and figure out what you're doing later on if you forget before the quiz or the test. So 16, I'm going to create my factor tree. We can split it up into 2 times 8. 8 I can split up into 4 times 2. 4 I can split up into 2 times 2. Since I do have an index of 3, I am looking for groups of 3, which right here I have a group of 3. So 2, which is coming from that one, times 2, which is coming from this grouping right here. And then I'm left with the cubed root of 1, 2 that's left over. So this is my lonely 2. Same thing with 54. 54, I can split up into 9 times 6. 9 split up into 3 times 3. 6 you can split up into 3 times 2. Index is 3, so I'm looking for groups of 3. And I can write that as minus 5 times 3 cubed root of what's left over, one of these 2's. Please feel free to pause this if you ever need to, because I know I am going through some of these questions a little bit quickly. So after we simplify, I'm going to multiply coefficients. Two is 4, cubed root of 2. Then we have minus 15, cubed root of 2. Since we have the same index, the index is 3, we have the same radicand, the radicand is 2. So same. Index is 3. Radicand. Four minus 15, negative 11. And then we just keep that cubed root of 2 left over. 8 and 9 are really the same exact. So in number 8, we have to simplify what we can here. So I'm going to start off. I can't simplify anything under the radical of my first one. Of the second one, there's a couple of things I have to do. So I'm going to start off by creating a factor tree for 8. So 4 times 2. 4 can be split up into 2 times 2. I am looking for groups of 3 again because my index is 3. So that's my group of 3. So this first one cannot be simplified, so I'm going to rewrite it. So 2 cubed root of x squared y can actually simplify. So I took out a 2, so let's bring that out. And then we need to come up with what my variables are going to be. So 3, which is my index, can go into 5 one time. So I'm going to write x once. But underneath the radical, I'm still going to have 2 left over because that would be my remainder. And then 3 goes into 4 one time. And there'll be 1 left over as my remainder, so that gets put underneath. So my first step, simplify. Second step, we have the same index, same radicand. I can just simply add them together. Two plus 2xy. Well, that's not really going to help me out a whole lot, so 2 plus 2xy. I can't combine like terms because they're not the same. I'm just going to write it with a parenthesis, and on the outside I'm writing, I guess on the outside, the index is 3, and then my radicand was x squared y. That one I can't do anything else with because I couldn't add these together. But the radicand stays the same, the index stays the same. I just have to write it as 2 plus 2xy. Okay, let's move ahead to number 9. Same concepts. I have an index of 2 over here, an index of 3, but let's go ahead and try and simplify. So 4, factor tree, 2 times 2. I was looking 2 because my index is 2. And then my x's can actually be simplified as well. So this answer will have 5 on the outside times 2 from over here. And then since my index is 2, how many times does 2 go into 3? Once, with 1 left over. Plus 3. Now I have to simplify 64. So let's create a factor tree. We could do 8 times 8. The 8s can be split up into 4 times 2. And the 4s can be simplified into 2 times 2. I'm looking for 3 groups, so I have 1 group here, 1 group here. So we'll have 3 times 2 times 2, because we had 2 groups. And then 3 goes into 4, because I'm looking for the simplified version of my variable. 3 goes into 4 one time, with 1 remainder. Simplify this out, so that was my simplify, multiply, so 10x square root of x plus 3 times 2 is 6, 6 times 2 is 12, 12x cubed root of x. Okay, step 3. Well, we have the same radicand, but not the same index. So I can't do anything else. That can't be simplified further. Okay, again, say it and keep saying it. If you need to pause the video, please do so. I am going to continue to keep writing pretty quick. The video is not too long and doesn't take up too much space. So pause it if you need more time to write any of these things down. Okay, next page, we only have 2 more. And then after 10 and 11 are done, you're going to work on the practice at the bottom of the page. So number 10, we have fractions now, so I know you're going to freak out a little bit, but it's okay. We have to come up with some factor trees for all of the things underneath the radical. So 75, I can split that up into 25 and 3. 25 I can split up into 5 times 5. And I am looking for groups of 2 since my my index is 2. So here's my grouping. I'll have 2 from here times 5 then we have this 3 that's going to stay there. This is a fraction though, so I'm going to have something in the denominator. So my factor tree for 16 is 4 times 4. I'm looking for groups of 2 so I can stop there. And so 4 goes into the denominator. So that's the first fraction. Plus 4. Now I have to come up with my factor trees for 8 and 32. So 8 I can split up into 4 times 2. 4 can be split up into 2 times. Right there's one group. So I'll have times 2 square root of 2, because that one was left. Factor tree for 32. I have 8 times 4. 4 can be 2 times 2, 4 times 2, and 4 is 2 times 2. I'm looking for groups of 2, so here's one group, here's another group, and this 2 is left over. In the denominator, I'm going to have 2 times 2 over 2. So 2 times 5, root 3 over 4, plus, we have 4 times 2 is 8 over 4 root 2. So first step here, simplify. Step 2, multiply. Simplify again is my third step. And here's what I mean by that. So I have 10 over 4. Well, I can reduce that fraction, and if you need to, you should do it. But both of them are divisible by 2. So if I divide them both by 2, I'm left with 5 halves. In the second fraction, I am left with 2. And then both of these radical 2's will cancel off. They're not going to be there at all. I have 5 square root of 3 over 2 plus 2. Now, you could leave it like that. I wouldn't suggest it in order to add them together. So we have 2 fractions here. So add by finding LCD. So my least common denominator will be 2 because I have 2 and 1. So that just means I need to multiply this back by 2 again. So I have 5 radical 3 over 2 plus 4 over 2. I just multiplied the tops and the bottoms. Now that I have the same radical, same denominator, I can just write it as 5 square root of 3 plus 4 over 2. It doesn't really change it much at all. That's just how the book know what it's going to look like. I'd be completely fine leaving it as 5 root 3 over 2 plus 2. I mean, they're this. Your number 10 is going to be a little bit similar, but not as much work. I mean, number 11, I'm sorry. So 11, I have 10 on the outside. I can't reduce 5, but I can reduce x to the 6th. So I'll have 10 cubed root of 5 is in the numerator. Then in the denominator, I'm going to have 3 goes into 6 2 times, so x squared minus, you have the 3 here. Cubed root of 4 can't be simplified, so I'm going to leave it there. But 3 goes into 9 3 times, so I'll have x cubed. So simplify. There's not really any multiplication happening here. So I need to find LCD add fractions. LCD in this case, I have an x squared and an x cubed. This one's missing an x. So I'm multiplying by x here, multiplying by x here. My final answer will be 10x cubed root of 5. That's all from the numerator. Minus 3 cubed root of 4. This numerator. All over my new denominator, which is x cubed. And that will be my final answer. Now that you have all of the notes for 8.4, I need you to do the practice that's at the bottom of your paper. I am expecting all of these things. You do need to turn it into the substitute, and I'm going to look over it. We are doing 8.4 today. 8.5 will be next class. We might spend 2 days on it, and then we'll have an open note quiz after that. So if you need to go back and watch any of this video again because you missed something, go for it. Otherwise, get started on your book work, and I will see you next class.